Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome to another video. Is this a must-win game this early into the season? Some could argue yes, some could argue it's way too soon. Reading away is going to be an absolute trek. But for those who are going to that game, I'm sure hopefully it will be worth it. Fingers crossed. I mean, if you've not seen it already, look at our away form in the last 3 league games. We have not scored a single league goal away from home in the last 3. Wigan, Luton, Leyton Orient. We've conceded 8 goals away from home in the last 3 league games and scored none. This is massive. It's conceded 9 and conceded none if you include conceded 11, and scored none if you include the Tottenham game. So this is massive. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe, hit notification bell so you never miss the video. Let's get this channel back up to 7k. I'm going to start learning on here a lot more as well. Thank God. I know some of you have missed the match vlogs, I know some of you have missed some of the content, etc. But I am back on this channel as well as the other channel and trying to upload as much as possible. So, I mean, let's talk about it. I'm going to see, like I said, we've been missing on this channel for about a month or so apologies for that. Tried to sort a lot of stuff out, but, I mean, let's get into it. So, this is really frustrating. This is really, really, really frustrating. And I'll tell you why it's frustrating. It's frustrating that our lack of clinicalness in the final third and basic mistakes in build-up play and basic mistakes at the back, basic mistakes in goal, basic mistakes all over the pitch are costing us goals and costing us results. A 1-1 draw against near bottom of the league at the time, Burton Albion, disgusting result. A point rather than no points was the only positive out of that. The fact that we didn't lose anything from that game, the fact we even got a point from that game was surprising. Leyton Orient, embarrassing. I watched that from home. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. There's no two ways about that. That was embarrassing. And, you know, even the manager came out and said that. And you know what? That's the one thing I'd say, barring the Northampton press conference, because I didn't agree with Grant. I thought the first half was still shocking. When I look back on that Northampton game, I thought the first half was still shocking. Still couldn't take chances. Still made mistakes. And then the second half just compounded it. And we failed to make our chances count in the first half, in the second half. And the second half was just abysmal anyway. The Leyton Orient game, totally agree with him on that. You know, I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you saw it back then. Came out and said, been too loyal about a few things. And, you know, things will change. They didn't change against Northampton. Let's see if they change against Reading. It's a bit of a sticky situation. Obviously, we knew that we were going to get a blip at some point. I think every club goes through a blip at some point. Ours is a bit more of the blip. It's now a run of form. And it's a run of form in the opposite direction, which I'm not happy about at all. And I'm sure most Rovers fans aren't. And, you know, I'll get some people saying, you're too toxic, you're too negative, you know, why, you know, things happen, we still get behind the team. Yeah, I still get behind my team. They're called Doncaster Rovers FC, not Manager FC. And I'm still Grant McCann in. I'll be Grant McCann in until the last dying breath, unless it really turns ugly. If we suddenly get 15, 20 defeats on the bounce, then maybe I'll start changing my mind. But this is not a great run of form, and McCann does need to start looking at what he needs to do. And I'm sure he is. I don't doubt that for a single second. You know, I'm not going to tell the manager what to do. I can only deliver what I would do in that situation, what I would do in this particular moment. And you take the Reading game, for example. Look at the Reading game, or look ahead to the Reading game this weekend. They are going to dominate the ball. Let's be honest, they're going to be the better side in terms of possession stats. Possession, in my opinion, doesn't mean anything unless you win the game. You know, we'll let you have the ball for most of it, as long as we get the result. McCann's team need to be wary that Reading are dangerous down that flank, and they will attack through that flank. We need to be careful of the fact that they can score from set pieces if need be as well. So, and you know, Reading only just got a win, you know, on the Tuesday night against Northampton, I think it was, funnily enough. So, you know, Reading's one of them sides where, in terms of what Donny needs to do, we need to be setting up compact defensively for at least the first 15, 20 minutes. You know, be sharp, be wary. Obviously, we need to be wary all the time. You know, that's a given as a footballer. As a professional footballer on 2, 3, 4 grand a week, that is a given. Don't matter what money you're on. Any level of football, you have to stay sharp, you have to stay aware. That's an absolute, God's remark. We need to stay sharp at the back. We need to stay compact defensively at least the first 15, 20 minutes and going forward from that. We need to be on it from the off. I think Reading will have more of the ball in this game, so we have to be wary of that. It's about what they do with it and how we deal with it. We need to transition quickly, win the ball back as soon as possible, press up the pitch as soon as possible. We cannot be delaying it. Even McCann came out after Northampton when Middleton got the ball and then passed it backwards. We can't be doing stuff like that. When we are not the Yorkshire Stoke. We are not the Yorkshire Pulis. We are not the Yorkshire Hodgson. We are Doncaster Rovers Football Club. We play attacking football. We do not play slow, boring, defensive, rubbish football. And at times, over the past few weeks, that is what I have seen at times. And that is not his style of football. These are moments within a game that have led to results where we don't press, we don't attack, we don't be urgent. We've started to see that. And what's the one thing I spoke about a month ago? Lack of belief, lack of confidence. And I disagree with McCann in the press conference after Northampton when he said it's a wee bit of a lack of confidence. No, sorry, Grant, it's a bit more than a wee bit of a lack of confidence. It is a lot of lack of confidence. Where does that come from? It doesn't come from fans sharing their opinions. It comes from results. It comes from missed chances that professional footballers know they should take themselves. And that's from the experienced lads all the way down to the younger players. I saw Damala Ajayi getting a lot of stick. He had some good pace. But again, it wasn't a great game for him against Northampton. It wasn't. It wasn't. In terms of how I would line up, and I'll go on about that in a little bit later, I wouldn't make 7-8 changes from last week. But I'd definitely make some changes going into that game. 100 million %. The right back situation is an absolute joke. Sterry's still not fit. Nixon's now out for a couple of weeks, as we knew after Northampton. So it's going to be either Graham or O'Riordan at right back probably. Which, O'Riordan did well last time he played there. And I thought Graham did alright when he played there last time as well. So it's one of them. Unfortunately, it's one of them where we just have to bite the tongue and we have to, go for it. But I tell you something right now. Right back is an area for January. And we've got the money to pay some sort of transfer fee. We're not going to pay 2, 3, 4, 500 grand. But 100 grand, 150 grand. Damn right we can do it. And I hope we do it. I hope we splash out the cash. It don't have to be millions. It doesn't have to be £500,000 grand. But it can be 100, 150 grand, if need be, to pay a compensation fee for a player in that position. I've just had a DM from League of Pundits. Now, you're probably saying to yourselves, what is League of Pundits? It is literally as straightforward as picking one Premier League team to win every single match day. It is as simple as that. Make sure you create your own league with your friends and you can win some amazing prizes. However, you can also create some incredible forfeits as well. And I've got big news dropping today. I'm going to be creating the Chow Premier League right here on League of Pundits. So make sure you use the special designator code and make sure you join my league, and who knows, you could be walking away with some incredible prizes. Stay tuned, because this year could really be your year. And I'm not looking for someone who can back up Sterry or back up Nixon or back up both of them. I'm looking for a guaranteed starter who's going to come in and say, right, he's injured, or just getting back to fitness, or wherever they'll be by January. And they say to themselves, right, time for me to take that shirt off of him. We can be friends off the pitch, but in terms of fighting for a place to play week in, week out at a club with a manager that wants to get back to championship level, with players like Matty Pearson who come out after Luton and say, I didn't come here to be mid-table League One, I came here to be a championship player. We need players now, and this is, a lot of criticisms come out, especially over the past few weeks during this run of form, about the recruitment in the summer window. I don't have problems with our recruitment. I do think our recruitment was good. I do praise our recruitment. I do praise the club for the recruitment, because we did bring in some young, energetic players. They don't turn crap overnight. They don't. It's just this run of form. It's lacking confidence. It's lacking belief, and we need to find something from somewhere. Whether that's tactical changes, a formation switch, or a hybrid alteration of the formation or whatever. Something on the pitch, something on, I don't know, I don't care. Something needs to switch and sort itself out and change. And Grant will know how to do that. But in terms of the recruitment from January and the summer and going forward, and I'm sure this is what the club's thinking, I'd be worried if they weren't, it needs to be right. We can't be recruiting players that are too good for League Two and are good enough for League One, and that's, and they could grow beyond that. That's not my mentality. Now we need to be thinking, right, let's bring in players permanently on loan that could play League One or Championship. That's got to be the mentality. And I'm not hearing people saying it can't be done. It can't be done. We haven't got the biggest budget. It doesn't matter what kind of budget we've got. I've always believed it's not how much you spend. It's how well you spend what you've got. So let's say, for example, I'll use this team as an example, Plymouth Argyle. Look at the money they've spent this summer, previous summer winner of the Championship. Look at the money they've spent, and they're below us. We've spent an undisclosed fee, probably just under 100 grand, on compensation to sign Sean Graham. The rest were frees and loans, and we are above Plymouth Argyle. It's not about how much you spend, it's about how well you spend what you've got. If you want a quality player, you pay the compensation fee. If it's not out of our price range, if it's not with outside of the rules, if it's not outside the realms of possibility, you pay it. As long as it's the right fee for the right player. And I'm sure the recruitment team's done the work. I'm sure the recruitment team's done the scouting. This is going to sound really disrespectful to the National League, but we can't be searching for those kind of players anymore. We can't. We can't. There may be the odd gem that's good enough for League One, but again, I'll go back to that point. We can't be searching for players that's good enough to play with League One and maybe go up to the Championship. We want players that are going to be playing League One who can also play in the Championship. And this is why certain fans have come up to me over the past few weeks when I've been to games. And we've spoken about certain players. I won't name names, but there are certain players where people have gone to me and they've been like, have we found their level? And I'm sure some people might know who I'm talking about. But we need to prove, first of all, they need to prove as professional footballers that's not the end of their level. They need to prove they're higher than that. But we also need to be thinking as a club, right, we've got several players that are getting older. Let's be frank, let's be honest. Players like Jamie Sterry, players like Luke Molyneux, Billy Sharp, obviously. Matty Pearson, I know he's a new signing, but he is in his, early 30s. He isn't going to play for the next decade or two. He isn't going to play for the next 2 decades. We need to start searching for long-term successors to our experienced pros, your Sterries, your Molyneux, your Sharps, long-term successors to our starting experienced pros that will take over from them in the long term, and maybe even the short term as well, who's got the quality to go above the next division. Because that's how a forward-thinking club does. Look at Stockport County. Look at how they do their recruitment. They look for players that are going to take them into the Championship, and then they'll look for players to take them maybe into the Premier League one day. Same with Lincoln City. That's partly why I think they're flying at the minute. And, Championship level, there's plenty of clubs. Coventry were in the pits of hell years ago. But with the right recruitment and the right owner in place, now at Coventry, thank God for them, they've stepped it up a gear. And now they're in a position where they've got millions of pounds worth of players, a brilliant manager in Frank Lampard, with a lot of history as a player, and they're one of the top sides, if not arguably the top side in the Championship this season. I know Coventry's a different example because they've got the ex-Premier League experience and so forth. Swindon in League Two are doing quite well this year. They've got Premier League experience, but obviously Ian Holloway's their leader. It's distracting them for all the ownership stuff. We need to be thinking, recruitment-wise, who's going to take us to the Championship? And if there's any people under contract who we don't think will cut it at Championship level or top-end League One level, we need to start being even more ruthless than we've already been, because let's not be frank, let's not beat around the bush. We have been ruthless in the past. In the past few years, we have been ruthless. Tom Anderson, Tommy Rowe, John Taylor all had years at this football club. Didn't even give them a proper send-off. Didn't even give them a proper chance to announce their departures before the end of the season or before the last home game and say, you know, these guys are leaving at the end of the contract, let's give them one final send-off. No, it was basically a case of, bye-bye. You know, bye-bye, last home game, last away game, whatever, season's done. They're leaving, no chance to say goodbye. And, you know, they go off to their respective clubs. We have been ruthless, but we need to step up that ruthlessness even more now in January and in the summer as well. And it's not a bad thing on the club. It's just a constructive thing from what I'm looking at and from, I'm sure, what some other people are looking at. So, going into Reading, this is how I would line up. I would go Lance Tyler in goal. I think he did well against Northampton. I'd go with a back line of Graham at right... In fact, I'll go Graham at right back. I was debating between him and O'Riordan. And then I would put Pearson and O'Riordan together. And then I would go Maxwell at left back. In the midfield, I'd go Bailey Broadbent. I would go Gibson on the left, Middleton on the right, and then I would go Gotts in the 10. And then I would go Billy Sharp up front. That's my lineup for Reading. I think that side has energy behind the striker. I think it has pace and directness behind the striker. I think the midfield will intercept and help transition quickly if they've got the quickness and the quick reaction time. I think the fullbacks and the wingers can help stop the overlaps on the flanks for Reading. And we just need to transition quickly and just be on it from minute one defensively and offensively. So let me know what you think about all this in the comments down below. Like I say, it's a bit of a big discussion today, obviously. We'll try and bring out another video after the Reading game to share our thoughts, etc. I'll for sure be watching it either at the Medeski Stadium or in the studio. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you later.